So I grew up going to church all the time, and basically, church was a second home growing up. I went to private school my entire life, even through college, up until grad school was my first experience going to a public school myself. So I constantly grew up hearing very conservative mentalities of people who were gay or people who associated or are part of the LGBT community, that they were very bad. When I was little, I just remember if we ever saw on TV a gay couple or a lesbian couple showing any form of affection, that my family would freak out and say that's horrible and those people belong in hell and all of those things. So hearing those things my entire life, and deep down knowing that I liked men, it was hard. It was hard for me to really come to terms with that. So I grew up really repressing all of that part of me. And also in my family, I love them dearly, but we have the problem of, just making sure that we are a picture perfect family. So there's never anything wrong. And if there ever is anything wrong, we always just put that under the carpet and pretend that everything is okay. So we never really ever talked about issues growing up. If ever I had a problem at school or just felt something personal, I didn't think I could go to my parents wholly because I was afraid of judgment or just kind of breaking that picture perfect family. So I got really, really good at repressing things. So all throughout middle school, elementary school, I knew deep down inside that there was something different about me, but I just never really knew why or what it was. And then when I got to high school, I started meeting more people. I still went to private school when I was in high school, but there were more people that were had different mentalities than me. I met my best friends there, and my best friend was very vocal about supporting the LGBT community, and I had never met someone up until that point that was so supportive of that. So she wasn't out yet, I wasn't out yet, but I just knew that she was very supportive, and it was just a breath of fresh air to be able to meet someone that supported them versus someone that was constantly putting them down. So I am a musician, as you all know, and part of that musicianship got me involved in choir at the high school level. So in high school, I loved choir. Choir was like my home. I found my family there, and I felt like I could rely on those people. But I think choir has a stereotype that it's primarily for girls, or back then it was this stereotype that singing is not cool for boys, that only girls do it. And a lot of the people at my school saw that I loved choir and that had a huge passion for it. And I don't know, I was never really much of like a sporty kid. I was always like, just kind of did my own thing. I had friends that were mostly girls versus guys, because I felt like I didn't fit in with many guys growing up, because they were these manly men who wanted to play basketball, and all I wanted to do was, play piano or sing or do something. So I felt like I associated myself and hung out with more girls than guys, and also guys were just mean to me at the high school level. So my junior year of high school, this was a long time ago, there were a group of guys that just were bullies. For no reason, they just started to just spread rumors that I was gay, and it was a very small school. There was probably 120 something people in my graduating class. So word spread really fast. And at the time, I knew deep down inside again that there was something different about me, but I just didn't know what it was. And I was really wanting to be sure that I was on good terms with my family, and just felt I didn't want to, in their terms, go to hell because I was gay. So I constantly told myself, I am straight, I am not gay, I am not bi. I just remember playing that in my mind over and over and over again. So my junior year of high school, there were these bullies that took it upon themselves to tell people that I was gay for whatever reason, whether it be because I was a musician, because I hung out with mostly girls, whatever it was. It wasn't right. And I was not ready to come out yet. So I fought tooth and nail to be sure that I proved to them and others that I was not gay. So I did date a few girls in high school to prove to them and to myself and to my family and to everybody that I was this normal straight guy that liked girls, that just so happens to also like music and choir and stuff like that. All of those relationships never lasted, and then I moved on from that. I still clinged onto my choir family, and then I decided to major in music education going into college, which was also, I went to a private Christian university also. So a lot of the people there were very kind, but also had this mentality of not supporting the LGBT community. So again, I was working very, very hard to try to repress that side of my life. And my freshman year of college, back in 2011, 2012, I met this girl, a very pretty girl, and we hit it off. We started dating in the summer of 2012, and I think it's hard to explain, but I think I fell in love with the idea of a companion. So we were hanging out all the time, and she was a pretty girl, and I felt that, I could finally prove to people, see, I'm dating a really pretty girl, so that must mean that I'm not gay. I even convinced myself that I wasn't. So I lived this lie that I wasn't gay, that I was straight, because I was dating this lady, and we had a great relationship. We toured with choir. We went to South Korea in 2014, and I popped the big question. I asked her to marry me in 2014, and she said yes, and we proceeded on throughout the trip, just living in cloud nine. But in the back of my mind, I was constantly telling myself, I am not gay. I have finally proven to myself that I am straight, because I am now engaged to this woman. And because I'm engaged to this woman, that must mean that I am straight. So then we came back from South Korea. It was nearing finals of my junior year of college. And I hung out with mostly seniors that year, so a lot of them were graduating. And I used to live in a house with a bunch of guys back my junior year of college. And to celebrate all of my friends that were graduating that year, we had a party because most of them lived in dorms or apartments and didn't have the means to be able to have a big party. So then I was the one with the house, so we decided to have a house party at the end of the year. And there was lots of drinks. It was super fun. And a huge thing happened that night. My fiance at the time, she left early, and one of my friends brought over one of his brothers. And I hadn't met his brother before, but he had told me, my friend had told me that his brother was gay. And I was drunk and had a little too much to drink, and so I think he did too. And we were kind of flirting, and we didn't do anything. I didn't cheat on my fiance, but something felt right about it. I had never experienced something like that with another guy openly. And I had enjoyed it. Like I said, we didn't do anything, but it was just the kind of like the teasing or the opportunity to kind of experience that for the first time. So then everyone left, the party was over, went to bed. The next day I woke up and I felt like I was just like I was having an existential crisis. My entire life I've been really good about knowing exactly what I want to be doing at all the time. Like my day is planned. I always have a plan moving forward, and every minute of every day I kind of know what I want to be doing. And coming back from this trip where I proposed to my fiance at the time, and 2 or 3 weeks later, this encounter happens with this guy. It just felt my world was turned upside down. For the first time, I had experienced uncertainty that I felt like was out of control. I didn't share that experience right away with my fiance at the time. I was just gonna try again, like I've been doing my entire life. repressed that part of me. But it overflowed and I couldn't hold on to it. So one of my best friends, I told her about the experience, and she was floored because, I had never shared anything like that with her. And throughout the end of 2014 and going into 2015, I was just struggling with, maybe I'm bisexual. Maybe I have this feeling that I like both guys and girls. I'm going to try to work out being with my fiance. We're going to get married at the end of the year in November 2015. It'll be great. I just need to repress this part of my life. But then I just found myself turning back and going back constantly to this guy that I had this encounter with at this party. And I wanted to know him. I wanted to just talk to him and just see what it would be like to, have a friendship with someone that's gay. Up until besides my best friend, I had never had even a friend that was gay because either people around me were just too scared to come out because they are in the same repressed Christian community that I was in, or they just didn't support it. So I graduated college in 2015, and that was just a crazy time because I was finishing up classes, going into student teaching the next year, in the middle of wedding planning, and trying to salvage the relationship that I had with my fiance. So it was just a really crazy time of uncertainty. And then after I graduated in May, on June 26th of 2015, my fiance initiated a conversation about how it's probably best if we go separate ways because we both have heart messes that we need to work through. And it's true. I had gone through therapy and did all the things, but still felt like I was just not fully happy and embracing who I was meant to be. So June 26, 2015, I'm pretty sure that's Gay Day, the day that gay marriage was finally legalized in the US. So it all just felt like everything was just lining up. Like I said, I'm a Christian, so it just felt like God was making this, like just creating all of this to just line up. Like it was just so perfect, like it was meant to be. And yes, it was devastating to have a breakup after 3 years with this great person. But looking back at it now, I think it's better to have ended that then than be a few years into a marriage and maybe have a kid and then have to end that because I embraced that way later on in life. And I know that happens to a lot of people too. So I'm thankful that it happened. It was, like I said, devastating at the time, but I think looking back in retrospect, I think it was for the best to end things then. Then the end of 2015, after I graduated and started my student teaching portion of my undergraduate career, I met this guy, and this was that was the first guy that I had ever had feelings for. So it was such a new thing for me, and I felt so free and liberated because I was no longer dating a woman, that I really felt so hard for this guy. And we had a good relationship for the first year, and I felt very head over heels for him. But at the same time, it was such a new thing that I just wanted to experience, this new part of my life that I had been repressing for my entire life. I've had experiences with guys and it just feels so right in comparison to experiences with women, which means to me that this was meant to be for me. I think that I was born this way, and I can finally embrace who I am meant to be. So in 2016, October of 2016, on National Coming Out Day, I finally came to terms with, wanting to make this public. And many people were supportive, which is great, but many people also were not. Like I said, I have a very Christian conservative background, so a lot of people saw this post or whatever I posted on social media of publicly coming out and thought that it was a decision that I made to go from being straight to being gay. because maybe I don't know what their mindset was. Maybe they thought that I had a really horrible breakup, so to make up for this horrible breakup, I'm gonna start dating just guys. But to me, the only decision that I made was the decision to finally embrace this part of me. Like I said, I was so good and have been so good at repressing this part of my life that these last 3 years of just being myself have been so liberating. And it's been hard. I've lost many friends because they think that it's not possible for somebody to be religious, whether it be any Christian, Muslim, whatever, and part of the LGBT community. But in reality, you can be both and still strive and have faith and a religion and still love the same gender or be trans or be just part of the LGBT community. Just because you're one does not mean you can be the other. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but God doesn't make mistakes. He's a perfect being, and He made us the way that we're meant to be. And I hope that there are people out there that I know that are struggling with that too. And many people before me came out and have helped me come to terms with who I am. Because of their stories and just Pride Month in general, just the brave people that came before me to be able to make it okay for me to post this and make it okay for me to just be vocal about who I am. I hope that I can do that for somebody too. Like I said, I'm a musician, so I hope and dream that someday I can put out music that gives that light and gives that hope to people that you can be Christian, you can be gay, you can be whatever, and still be a light to others. And you are meant to be the way that you are meant to be. And I am very proud of who I am. And I would never change that. I am so lucky to be the way that I am. So thank you for watching. And I hope, again, that this inspires some of you to just embrace who you are and to also help others just broaden their minds and their mindsets and just to see that the LGBT community can be and have faith as well. So thank you again. Please be sure to subscribe and look for more covers coming up in the future. Thanks, guys. Happy summer.